somebody at the table to say something for me, please?
Minister Myers, can you just say a few words? We just need to do an audio test on the mics.
Okay, it'd be easier if Brad said something because he probably has more to say. But
You just make up anything. Doesn't matter. Just an audio test.
All I got to say is chase the ace up at the North Shore is starting to climb again. You might want to get your tickets. You can buy them online if you like. At Ace Chaser, I think it's called. So you don't have to worry about social distancing. It's all good.
It's not great, but
I'm just gonna turn the Premier on to let him know who's in the room, and then I will let him know when he can start.
is that what it is?
Premier, it's Amanda.
Hi.
We're going to get started here in a minute, but I'm just going to let you know the ministers and Dr. Morrison are in the room, along with media from Radio-Canada, The Guardian, and local CBC, and La Voix Acadienne also. CBC is live streaming, and so are we.
Okay, well, hi, everybody, and thank you.
Okay, just give me 1 second, Premier. I'll tell you when you can get started. Are you guys ready, Ken?
I think so.
Okay, Premier, if you want to get started in about 60 seconds, you can start the whole thing off.
So will you give me the all systems go, or
Yeah, I'll
you want me
tell
to do a countdown?
Yep, no, I'll say go ahead, Premier.
Thank you.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Okay, Premier, you can go ahead.
Well, thank you, Amanda. Bonjour. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Dr. Morrison, fellow cabinet colleagues. To begin, I guess, like everyone has seen, COVID-19 has impacted the world, and PEI is not immune. These are unprecedented health and economic and social times. In the early stages of this situation, we have felt some tough days, and I believe we can expect the road forward to be equally as challenging and difficult. Under the leadership of Dr. Morrison, our Chief Public Health Officer, we have been taking action based on her expert advice, which is based on the most up-to-date information available, and that is information that is shared and as much as possible coordinated with our provincial and our national colleagues. Our goal every day is to try to do what's right and to do everything we can to protect the health and safety of Islanders. This afternoon, Cabinet met again with Dr. Morrison to look at further necessary steps to address what we need to do to contain the spread of COVID-19. We recognize the need to explore further avenues to empower our Chief Public Health Officer, and today I am declaring a state of public health emergency. This will allow the Public Health Office to be nimble and to make decisions as we move forward. We know that these are unprecedented times with a lot of unknowns, and it seems as if the sands shift hour by hour. However, there are clear actions that we can take individually and together with the expert advice of Dr. Morrison. At the same time, our government recognizes our responsibility to do everything we can be doing to lessen the economic and social impacts that COVID-19 has and will continue to have on our province. I recently announced that 3 special cabinet committees have been formed to address the immediate, the mid and long-term impacts to Islanders. Those committees being economy and business supports, labor and social support, and government operations. My colleagues who are there, who are the cabinet leads on this, will be providing a brief update shortly to further explain what we are doing as a government. As part of our provincial response, we are announcing today an Emergency Contingency Fund. Minister McKay will share more details about that shortly, but this is designed to help island workers, the self-employed and others who are impacted by COVID to get through these difficult times. As everyone has continued to say, we are in unprecedented times. I implore all Islanders to take this seriously, to heed the advice from our Public Health Office and from our health professionals. By doing so, we can all help flatten the curve, and we can help get through these very difficult times together. So I encourage all Islanders to do our part, and I again want to add my voice to many Islanders to thank Dr. Morrison for her great leadership, and to let her know that we continue to be here for her and her staff, and for all of those who are helping us get through this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Premier. As you mentioned, this is a difficult time for Prince Edward Island and the country, and I think in the days and weeks and possibly months ahead, it will be challenging for families, communities, and governments alike. The COVID-19 cases in the country are increasing daily in the last few days. And as many of you know, BC announced more deaths earlier this afternoon. We want to do what we can and do it now to make sure we protect Islanders, and that we have the ability to do so. So this afternoon, a state of public health emergency being declared helps ensure that the province is taking all the appropriate actions to prepare and mitigate the impacts of COVID-19. A public health emergency is declared when there is either a public health emergency exists or is imminent, and both are true in this case. It allows for prompt coordination to deal with COVID-19, and I feel like now is the time now is the time to do so, and it allows us to make the decisions that we may need to in the days ahead. It also makes sure that we're doing everything we can to keep all of us, our families and communities safe. A public health emergency can include ordering Islanders to refrain from attending public gatherings. It can also include ordering a public place or a premise to close. And these are things that actually many businesses and the public are already doing, but if it gives some additional powers to do so if we need to. It also would allow a premise to be used as an assessment facility, for instance. So it's really about what the possibilities of what we may need to do as we go forward. And I know I've spoken to many of you earlier today already, and I just I thank the Cabinet and the Premier. And I think this declaration will help us as we move forward and make sure we're doing everything we can in the weeks ahead.
Well, I'd like to start by thanking Dr. Morrison. You're doing an exceptional job.
Thank you.
And the province is extremely blessed to have you as our leader, and I can't express that enough. These are exceptional times. COVID-19 is serious, and I want to thank all Islanders for their individual efforts in helping contain the spread of the virus. Our job today is to give Islanders an update. As Minister of Justice and Public Safety, I know that everyone is anxious, and rightfully so. But right now, we have to remain calm. We have to do our individual parts. I want to share what we are doing from public safety. On Saturday, Emergency Measures Organization activated Level 2. What that means is that we are centralizing government's response. We are working closely with Dr. Morrison's team, following their expert advice. We are coordinating our provincial response, having representatives from every department check in and provide updates. This helps us plan what we need to be done to get Islanders through this together. Every department has confirmed their business contingency plan, and we are monitoring the supply chain impacts. And I can say today, there are no impacts. EMO is ready and capable of making sure that we can respond effectively. I cannot stress this enough. We have a small window, as the Chief Public Health Officer said, across this country to flatten the curve. We have to take decisive action right now and to listen to experts. Let's all do our part, and together we will get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Thompson, and good evening, everyone. I understand this is a very challenging time for island employers and employees. I continue to hear from employers and workers from all across the province and across all industries. I want to assure all islanders your concerns are being heard, and we are working very hard to support you, your businesses, and staff. Today, I want to share with you that we are launching a 1-866 line for island employers. This phone line will help employers learn more information on how they can address their concerns and needs. This phone line will go live starting tomorrow at 8 a.m. and will stay open until 8 p.m. from tomorrow going forward. This number is 1-866-222-1751. Once again, 1-866-222-1751. Now knowing that a contingency fund is being put in place, I want to share some more details about it. This fund will start at $25 million and will help support businesses, employers, employees, and self-employed during this difficult time. On that note, I will now pass it on to the Minister of Education and Lifelong Learning.
Well, thank you, Minister McKay. So in the Department of Education and Lifelong Learning, of course, we're following the lead of the Chief Public Health Officer to make sure that our children and all islanders are safe. And of course, we're pursuing our goal of making sure our children continue to be educated. We are supporting post-secondary institutions as they follow the recommendations of the Chief Public Health Officer. Libraries are being closed until further notice. Starting tomorrow, all daycares, that includes licensed and unlicensed, whether in early years center or whether in home, are asked to be closed. And there will be a plan put in place to support childcare for essential workers, and that's being implemented. And also schools will be closed starting March 23rd, tentatively with a reopen date of April 6th, but that will be reevaluated as we move along. And on that note, our education authorities, the Public Schools Branch and the Commission Scolaire de Langue Française, are working at plans to allow education continuity. That's so our children can continue to learn at home through a variety of means. We want to make sure all children have the opportunity to continue to learn to the highest capacity possible. And as well, they will be looking at addressing the social and emotional needs of children going forward. Along with the lead of Minister McKay, we're going to look at appropriate compensation for workers. We're working with the Early Childhood Development Association, unions, as well as Minister McKay's department to make that happen, as well as we want to make sure that the parents that are impacted have the proper supports. And I'll pass that off to Minister Myers.
Thank you. So the newly formed Operations Committee met this morning, and we are taking social distancing and employee safety seriously. And with that, we are directing departments and agencies to move to essential services and depopulate government buildings. This could lead to potential site closures and in some cases non-essential services not being available for a period of time. Departmental leadership is identifying essential services as we speak and who can work from home. Notification to employees has begun and will continue over the next 12 hours. We will be directing all provincial employees who can work from home to do so for at least 2 weeks, with another update at that time. Providing special leave to those who have no access to childcare, and staff who are isolated or who are required to self-isolate will also be provided. Other measures that we are bringing online are we are canceling all public consultations and public meetings that are government-led, canceling all non-essential government travel. We are bringing in an enhanced cleaning plan for all government complexes for those who will be remaining on site so that their safety is paramount. We are going to be limiting entry points to any of the government buildings, and we're going to have enhanced signage in our buildings and scripts at the entry points to limit people with symptoms from entering. So with that, I guess we'll open the floor.
Kramer, did you have any closing comments before we open to questions?
I don't think so. I think we can just get to the questions.
Anybody with questions? Going once.
Can anyone talk to, just give me a second to compose myself here.
Premier, can you just maybe clarify the 25 million funding exactly? What does it mean exactly for the economy of PEI?
Do you want me to start, maybe Minister McKay, and then you can finish? Look, we recognize that we have a responsibility here to make sure that those islanders impacted have a way to make sure they can provide for their families and to have some income. So we recognize we need to put something in place. The details we are working out, and we recognized quite honestly that the initial offering of $25 million will likely be just the start. It will just be that, an initial offering. We are working closely with our federal counterparts who, as you know, late last week, the Prime Minister and Minister Morneau talked about a $10 billion program, the details of which they are working out. So we will work closely with our federal counterparts. The whole idea here is to try to make sure people have money in their pockets now. We're fortunate as a province to be in a good fiscal situation to be able to withstand some of these pressures that we're facing right now. We know that will change as the pressures mount, but the importance of getting money into the hands of islanders right now is paramount, and that's what this is designed to do. And Minister McKay he's the cabinet chair of the Economy and Business Supports Task Group, and I know he can finish the answer here, but they are working to figure out the particulars and what needs to be done. So go ahead, Minister.
Thank you, Premier. So, as the Premier stated, this is $25 million to start. We really don't know the impact of this long term. This is a starting point. We've been listening to industry, which once again, this 1866 number, I believe, will help. As the Premier mentioned, this is not money for later, this is money for now. So this money is here to help businesses, employees, employers now that are in need. So like we said with that number, feel free starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow. There will be staff from my department through all walks of it, that the phone lines will be open at 8, from 8 to 8. Feel free to reach out, let us know what's going on with your business and some of the struggles, and we'll work our very best in the coming days to help you.
And Minister, just to follow up, a lot of our input here is coming directly from individuals. We've spoken at length with the tourism sector, with the early childhood, we've talked to TIPI, we've talked to chambers of commerce. So a lot of the pressures that we know are mounting, this is a response that industries and individuals have been asking for. That is why it's important that we're here at the table now. As the Minister said, money in the pockets now, and we will continue to figure out what the need is as it goes forward. But so important we're doing this immediately.
Guardian. So you say now, how quickly might people calling into the line expect to get a return? And what are the criteria for receiving money?
It's a good question. So we're working on the criteria now. The big thing is that it's going to support the businesses, employers, employees, and the self-employed. So we're getting a lot of calls now from all walks of business. So the criteria is being worked on as we speak. I would like to think within the coming days we're going to be able to do something with this. This isn't a fund that's going to drag out. We're working hard. The staff is here now in the office working on this, like I say, as we speak. So I would like to give a better update hopefully in the next 48 to 72 hours with this.
Yeah, and the direction that we have given is obviously to be dealing in hours and days, not weeks. We understand the importance of this. The great benefit of Prince Edward Island is our size. We're more nimble than most governments, so we feel we're in a good position to get this money out the door rather quickly. And I have exceptional and great faith in Minister McKay and that group he's working with to make this happen very, very quickly.
Question again, Julian Lecasher, Radio Canada. For you, Minister Myers, you spoke about the employees. Do you will ask to the islanders to not go to work for the next 2 weeks?
This is for government employees, so the operations committee is the one I chair, so this what I spoke to pertains to the employees of the provincial government.
And do you ask, or maybe someone else can maybe answer to that, do you ask to the islanders to not go to work, to try to do their best to work from home, or maybe to take some vacation?
Je peux essayer en français. Alors, je pense que c'est même chose quand on parlait. Si possible, il faut regarder qu'est-ce que vous faites qui est essentiel, qu'est-ce que c'est pas essentiel. Est-ce que vous pouvez garder toujours la distance? Si vous avez une option de travailler chez vous, travaillez chez vous. Et puis tous les employeurs doivent regarder leurs propres choses pour en faire regarder les propres détails, mais tout ce qu'on peut faire de protéger les gens, on doit commencer à en faire.
Maybe I can just add to that as well. So obviously when it comes to daycares and to schools and to libraries, those people will not be going into work. And so that's why it's very important, especially when it comes to the self-employed, these unlicensed child care centers, the in-home ones that we do work with Minister McKay and make sure that they are compensated along with everybody else.
So those people, they can use this fund, the 25 million, that's correct?
That's the full intention. We're working out the details still, but yes.
But it's also important to know that there are many, many facets of this when you look at the economic disruption. I've been talking a lot about the conversations that I've had with the Prime Minister regarding those individuals who would be coming off employment insurance at this time to go into one of our seasonal economies, which are now currently impacted. So we need to find a way, and I feel confident the Prime Minister has answered this, is that we need to find a way to make sure those benefits are extended for a number of weeks for those individuals until their job is there. We need to be dealing with people who might lose their job for a longer period of time. The federal government has answered some of those questions about eliminating waiting periods, etc. So there are just so many of these facets to this that we're really trying to deal with them all as they come. And this $25 million is just the initial offering of what will need to be more.
Mike Robar again from The Guardian. Do you expect to be shutting down non-essential businesses, or do you think bars and restaurants should start to be shuttered or consider possibly shutting down?
I think that's related to our earlier conversation. They should start thinking about that, and that I think everything is on the table at this point in time in terms of what we need to do to protect the health of islanders. So every day, as the Premier mentioned, every day, every hour, it seems like we're trying to look at what the best things to do. And I'll be certainly back tomorrow to talk, give people an update.
Dr. Morrison, perhaps you could reiterate in English the answer that you gave Radio Canada in French.
I think the question was around that government employees are being asked to work from home if and whether non-government employees, wherever possible, people should work from home if they can, and that businesses should be looking at options of private businesses and organizations looking at options where they can accommodate those types of work arrangements.
If there are no further questions, we'll bring question.
Yes, I just had a question, Laurent Hugo from La Voix Acadienne. You said that for the public health emergency, state of emergency, you can order any islanders to refrain public gathering, or you can order public places to close. What else is in that box? What else can you do?
Well, I believe that islanders, and I've said this all along, islanders want to protect their families and their community, and but the public health state of emergency allows a bit more coordination, but it also allows us to answer that question if someone isn't complying with some of the recommendations we're making, then we have some authority. And I think that's important because while that is expected and assumed, it may not always be the case that people will comply with these really important public health recommendations, and we don't want there to be any situations where people could possibly put those at risk of serious complications of COVID, and so we want to protect the vulnerable, and so if this authority will allow us to do that if people are not complying with our recommendations.
You mean, for example, people who are coming back from abroad and do not comply with the fact that they have to stay home for 14 days, for example?
Yes. And while under the Public Health Act, for instance, we would be able to issue certain orders for individual one at a time, this is more helpful if we're trying to have gatherings not happen and or premises that need to be closed down, and so it's just especially when this kind of environment across the country, I think this is the right thing to do.
Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, Amanda, Minister McKay, could you just give us the phone number again and when it's going to be live, just so?
Certainly. 1-866-222-1751, and it'll be live starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Premier.
Thank you to everyone, and for all of you who reached out wishing me well. I am fine. I'm just following the expert advice of our Chief Public Health Officer, and I'm self-isolating in the best interest of Islanders. So thank you for reaching out.
Thank you, Premier.